Oh, it's my home. All right, now you have to accept. You just have to accept
It's,
what
yeah, the
happened.
pop-up said take it or leave it. You could
Take
hit
it
one
or
of
leave it,
the
baby.
buttons.
Oh,
Okay.
got it. Here I
All right.
am.
So we'll start with just like a minute or two of meditation. Then Liz and I will introduce ourselves. I'm so glad you're here, Lorraine. I feel like this vibration is going to be wonderful for the conversation I want to have. We're grounded. We're consciously noticing that the earth is supporting us already and that we're connected. Our body is one with the earth. We're noticing, we're just letting our weight fall into the chair. Mm. And if we want, we can let go like sand in our hands. Let whatever we're carrying that is not bringing us joy anymore, we're just opening our hands and letting that sand fall out. So we're letting go and letting it fall down into the earth, to the center of the earth. Good. And we're relaxing our body, letting ourselves sit in the hand of Mother Earth, of the divine, of whatever you want, your chair, the hand of your chair. And good. Let's just be here. Notice the feel of your skin, the hair on your skin. In my case, the wind on my skin, clothes on your skin. This is just helping bring our attention to here now with present time. And now, how about put your attention at the very top of your head, like just as if you're sitting, or you're a little mini me sitting at the top of your head, or you're a little spark of light or a little pool of water. Put all your attention at the top of your head. Relax your physical eyes, they can't look there. Feel the top of your head. Know the top of your head. Good. And now let that attention fall down a few inches into what we call the center of your head. That would be behind your eyes and up a little at the third eye, into the middle of your head, between the ears and up a little. Good. And just lean back a little in your Barker lounger on that. Just farther back and rest. Just notice that the beautiful blue sky is smiling at us. We're getting the beautiful rays of the sun, even though we might be in the house. We are in the beautiful blessings that are from beyond this earth, from spirit, with the picture of the sun and the sky. Good. And now let's notice again from the center of the head how connected our body is with the earth. And notice, if you want, you can notice an actual energy cord from your lower body to the center of the earth, or see like a tree or a waterfall. Just increasing our conscious connection of how much the earth is here for us. We belong, we can trust, we can let go, we can fit here. Good. And let's breathe in from the universe, chest and belly, and release that breath to the earth intentionally. Do that a few more times. Good. And feel free to use all of your tools while we have this conversation. I know you guys have a lot more than this, and I was doing the little bit beginner stuff for if anybody watches. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to see Liz, be with Liz, notice who she's being now.
Oh
It's
my
been a
gosh.
while. And Liz, how about you just tell us what your dance with these tools are? Just a few
Sure.
minutes of what that's up. Go ahead.
Yeah, great. Well, Lorraine, Wendy and I go way back to Ballard, Washington, a suburb of Seattle.
Oh, I live in
And
Ballard, so you can shortcut that part.
oh, you're in Ballard too?
Yeah.
That's That's great. Well, we're old CDM people. We were in classes, so maybe you have that background as well. But they used to have a church that taught us a bunch of techniques, and I met Wendy early on. I stumbled in, angry at the world, young executive, bursting with, I don't know, ideas about what I should be and how I should get there. And I ended up meditating at the suggest of someone who said I should stop road raging and start meditating on my way to work. Yep.
Brilliant.
And so then I met Wendy, and we both were really opposite, but I always thought she was great. I always looked up to her. It's like, I want to be Wendy when I grow up. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying. She's laughing, but she's absolutely true. I thought, gosh, this woman really has this, like, she's just, I don't know, got it dialed in. And so, and seems pretty happy. And, even though I had a lot of check boxes, like I am an executive vice president and I'm wearing a size blah, blah, I was not happy. And I looked at Wendy like, she's happy. She's got something. I want that. So she doesn't know that, but I've admired her for years and
Didn't
years.
know that.
So anyway, so that's a little bit about me and Wendy. And then the techniques I just ate up like candy. Like, oh, there's a new one, excellent. And so I have a repertoire of them that I use every day in my daily life. I'm not in the spiritual world. I'm still in the business world. Of course, arguably business is spiritual, but I earn my money in a more traditional way, and I've used the techniques for so many things. Lately, I use them for healing, for helping people. I find my caring about people has gone up a lot. And so I used to not give a crap about other people, just how I can get ahead. That's changed. Now I have been confronted with a lot of daily stories of people. So I use the techniques to help guide me to help them kind of stuff. So kind of shifted my focus on them. Sure, I use them for my own self-care and healing, but I find that in my mature 20 something years, I tend to care more about other people more. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's really interesting. I can't believe we never met before.
Yeah, were you part of the CDM crowd?
I went to get readings there, and what I remember is it might have been someone, Wendy, or you were in school with, but they said they couldn't read me because I don't know, I was an ex-pope. It was a student reading, and they said they saw a purple cone above my head, and they saw that I'd been some kind of uh Pope, which I found very disturbing as someone who was raised Lutheran is now a witch. I'm like, I didn't hurt anybody. But, if you had enough lives, of course you did. You killed and were killed, and you loved and were loved, and you had every possible life experience, either whether you think it's linear on this planet or around the universe or in multiple universes, however you look at it. We've all had every possible story, if nowhere else, at least in our imaginations and in our dreams, right? So, um, yeah, so then I trying to think of when it must be 10 years ago that I found the Blue House, and I really don't remember how, and decided I wanted to do the the psychic awakenings.
Mhm.
And I started when Wendy was there, and I left when she moved away from there because I felt like there wasn't really substance left for me. It after Wendy left, it went from being taught to volunteering for people who are paid to come in a couple times a week. And I was like, wait a minute, if I want to give free readings, I could do that
Yeah.
from home. And
Yeah.
over time, if someone's asked to do something over a 2-year period, by definition, there's attrition. So you go from 30 people crowded in a room that are like, I want to do this, to 18 who can pay, to 12 who don't have some conflict, and then it's down to 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And at the end, I just felt like I felt like I could go with what I had learned with Wendy, but I fell out of the community, I think, by not graduating from a
Oh,
non-certified program.
got it.
And so I don't have people that are local to trade with. I have people I mentor. I have I have 4 goddess daughters and 2 children, and then I have 4 nieces, and a lot of them come to me for help and support. And my son was engaged, and his fiance came for healing, and she was really freaked out because she's like, it was so weird. It's like your mom was in my head when she said, think of yourself as somewhere comfortable.
Mhm.
And then she told me exactly where I was, which dog was with me, which blanket, like it was really, really freaking me out. And then they told their friends. So then I had other people coming, but I really don't, I guess for me, it's not a business because like you, I have other work I do. I'm a court
Mhm.
interpreter and a medical interpreter.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things I wanted to do is get distance from my husband because he was
Mhm.
very unhappy and had been smoking marijuana chronically for many years and
Mhm.
just very disconnected, very, very angry. And I think a lot of the new philosophy is that kind of anger and rage is just, it's unresolved grief. And if you can't get sober, you can't really deal with it. So
Mhm.
you just keep repeating the road ragey thing without the car.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
at work, being around so much violence and so much denial and so much addiction at work, you're seeing the same cycles that you're living with at home in a different way. And
Mhm.
so I was wanting to find like just have a golden shower to walk out of the courtroom and be like, okay, there's a golden shower when I go past the guards. And it's like, hey,
Mhm.
thanks for keeping me safe today. And I walk out and I'm like, I'm going through a shower. Like if you've been in the water, nothing wrong. It's sticky, it's salty, and you just get rinsed off there. But get the sand rinsed off, get the salt rinsed off. So I used a lot of techniques for different reasons. And I agree with you about Wendy. Absolutely. Absolutely. The amusement she could take things with, when I first met her, I was quite indignant. And I might have
Mhm.
even written to the owner about, like, what the fuck? She's laughing all the time and this serious shit. You're going to take your spirit out and throw it into the corner of the room? What if I get Nobi's spirit back and we switch bodies like a bad movie? Like, this is serious, serious. This is life or death shit. Not
Mhm.
heaven to hell, not the whole Christian thing, but
Yeah.
it's really important not to piss around with your spiritual work, and she's there like,
Mhm.
try this, ha ha ha. And I'm like, what the fuck is funny? This is serious shit. She's not taking this seriously. And there's 30 people crowded in a room because she knows there's going to be attrition. And then over time, I'm like, oh, amusement.
Yes.
Where you judge, you're hooked. Where you stumble, is that your
Mhm.
what do you call it? Is that your obstacle? Is that your barrier or your bridge? As I say when I read the tarot cards, like the card that's
Mm.
Mhm.
laid on, is that so this your barrier or your bridge, depending on whether you can get over it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
a lot of the things that she said in the beginning, I had a lot of resistance to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was used to just if fucking trying. And if you try really, really hard, then you have to get rewarded because that's fair.
I know that story.
And I was
Oh my
very
gosh.
indignant about things
I'm
not.
getting
Yes.
the magic pictures for you guys.
I
Definitely.
know.
I was so indignant. Like I remember being 3 and I was interested in numbers and I told my mom, so Dorot's 4 years older than me and Anita's 2 years older. So that means I get to live 2 years older than my sister Anita and 4 years older than Dora, right? And she was like, no, people die at any time. And I'm like, that's not fair.
That's not fair.
And now I'm like, I don't really want to outlive my sisters. That'd be really sad. But I
Yeah.
had all these ideas about what's fair, and I spent a lot of time feeling indignant. Like, why can't people be honorable? Why can't people be fair? Why can't people be sober? Why can't
Mhm.
they take better care of their bodies? Why do they cut me off in traffic? I
I
actually wrote
know.
a novel, which I haven't published, called Road Rage,
Oh,
about a woman who's so upset about the way people drive that she starts doing things.
might be that's the
Great.
matching pictures are amazing. And
Yes.
it's incredible. Road rage. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great topic.
Yeah. And how it should be. Like what I'm seeing is, I loved you each from the start and much appreciation. And I tripped with both of you around these kind of pictures. The,
Mhm.
basically a lot of perfect pictures, ideal, how the ideals of how it should be. You guys, would meet them better than me, which I did not enjoy.
Oh, that's so interesting. And Lorraine, I'm stricken by the fact that you're the fairness and then you're in the court system, right? Where that's very much, it just kind of popped for me like, wow, here you are working in the court system as an interpreter, and things are very much not fair every day. And what a
Oh,
great forum
I,
for, um, sort of recasting the fairness
I,
equation.
well, we should, I would love to get your phone number. Otherwise, we'll just talk the whole time conversationally. Are you
Yeah.
willing
Yeah,
to? I
Yeah.
would
Why
love
don't you
to
do
meet
that?
with you.
You can put it in the chat. Nobody can see
yeah,
that.
Lorraine, fabulous. I didn't know
Yeah.
you were a neighbor. That's fantastic.
That is
Yeah, that
unbelievable.
would be fun. You guys could walk to each other.
No way. Well, there you go. Made a new connection today. Thanks, Wendy. And it's so nice to meet you,
I
Lorraine.
know it was like perfect. I'm like, because I really had a picture for this that I didn't want a lot of people. I wanted a right vibration because there's some really important stuff I want to talk about today that that will get us somewhere. So
Yeah.
so Liz, do you want to be first to share or you want to go back and forth? Do you, it might just be easier if you did the sharing that you prepared for today.
Sure,
You want
sure,
to just start with that?
sure. I'll go ahead and launch right into it. So, I had a pretty major health scare last year around springtime, and keep the story short, it was a cancer scare. And so I was pretty certain that I had a very aggressive type of breast cancer. And it sort of set the year. If I look back on 2023, it's sort of the year of scary stuff. And I sort of I remembered a conversation, and I'm not making Wendy, this is so weird, just sort of popping for me, right? Like when I first found out that I had this cancer gene, this BRCA, this breast cancer gene that's really run afoul of my family, right? A lot of existential stories. A lot of women have died. Got it from my father. And when I first, it knocked me on my butt back in 2013. I remember I met Wendy at her apartment, and she probably doesn't remember this, or she
I
does.
totally remember this. This
You
is a
do?
big one.
Okay. It
Yeah.
was a big one. And this frames the story a little bit. So I was sure I was victimized and like unfair. Back to that. Why is this happening to me? My life is so great. And here comes this stupid thing that just sort of recast everything and tells me that I have a 70% chance of getting breast cancer and 50% chance of ovarian, not just getting it, dying from it. So really not great. And so I had to have a mastectomy at 43, and my ovaries out, no more kids, all these things that are sort of women personified, right? Your breasts and your eggs and all that's gone, right? And I'm cast into menopause. Before I launched into all of that, I had a session with Wendy at her apartment in Ballard, and she gave me a choice. I'll never forget it. Like, look at the rows for not doing all the surgeries and just kind of, and then look at the one for doing the
Mhm.
surgeries, embracing the learnings. And it was so clear how bright the one that I didn't want was.
Right.
It was so bright that I was drawn to it like a sun. Like, and then it just spiritually, I just pivoted like a compass
Yeah.
and just went, why? What was I thinking? This says great. I mean, as one can say, if you've got some illnesses, and I was just, and then I literally tore it up after that. I don't think she realized how that was such a huge shift for me, like towards the sun, facing this with sort of amusement, I think, and curiosity versus fear. No victim. The victim energy vanished. I don't know where it went, but I approached it sort of like a curious scientist. And, but I learned also to talk to my body, which is a huge lesson that maybe Wendy realizes I was more like a horse and buggy, like faster, better with my body. And then this really allowed me to partner with my body in a mindful way. So fast forward, last spring, one of my implants from previous surgery exploded, and I had this huge blister, if you will, on my chest that was called a seroma. And I had bad insurance as well, because I'm now self-employed, and they didn't want to deal with it. So I had this huge thing that was really unsightly and kind of tight. And I ended up having to go get it tested. My doctor, previous surgeon, said, "Oh, it's most likely, we looked at this and we think it's cancer, a very rare kind that would be require a lot of treatment." Anyway, long story short, I ended up having another set of surgeries to fix that and then to redo my mastectomy. And the surgery I chose was a 16-hour behemoth of a surgery. It's where they take your gut and turn it into breast. It's called a deep flap if you're in the medical field.
I've translated those
I
patient
figured you
documents
had.
in
I
Spanish.
don't remember the code, but I
We
almost
argued
do.
about flap. It's colgajo.
Right, there you go. So I had a deep flap, and it was a 12-hour to 16-hour surgery, 2 sets of surgeons. They rewire your arteries and veins. It's a whole lot of stuff. And they said, guess what? You get 4 nights in ICU. And I was very spiritually oriented, which was a gift of this whole experience, because I remembered when I started to feel victimy, I went back to my session with Wendy way back. I did that same exercise. Thank you, Wendy. And went, oh, I need to repivot this. This is actually a blessing in disguise. It looks bad, but it's actually a blessing. And when you see the rose, it was just like, I mean, that was our symbol. Was just like, wow, it's like a sunshine, and it's really, really vibrant, and I'm going there. So I did that same thing. Thank you, Wendy. I acknowledging you because you didn't realize how much that helped, right? And so I embraced this second round similarly, and I decided I'm going to make this fun as possible. And so I started to infuse games into the experience. And one of the games came, and I'll spare you all the little games, but one of the biggest, most bizarre but cool games was when I was post-op, and I had a way of dealing with fear. So I didn't feel fear. I turned it into curiosity somehow, and that was very accessible to my body. And that's a much healthier way, I think, to approach something really scary is, oh, I'm curious. I'm going on an adventure. And my body really went for it. It's like, yeah, I'm not like, climbing a mountain is going to be painful, but you still are up for it because there's rewards at the end, kind of a feeling. So I had this surgery. I didn't need to be knocked out or didn't need to take sedatives because I was so kind of curious and happy. And they didn't know what to do with me because they were so ready for me to be frightened. And I said, no, I don't want you to knock me out. I want to go into the OR. I want to meet all the scrub nurses, and they were like, that's weird, but okay. So I did it. And it was great because you see your name on the board, you hear their little protocol beforehand, and they knock you out. Well, I befuddled all of them apparently, because when I woke up, they were like, wow, you were, first of all, they were singing and stuff. And I guess in the OR, I started to sort of try to sing along to some of the songs, even though they had to knock me out more. So I was very involved. Then when I got out, I felt really good. And that's a very strange way to feel. Of course, you've got all these drugs coursing through you, like big ones. But I wanted to get out of the bed after the first day. And so I had this game with my body. I said, let's see how far we can get using our techniques to ground, to run all kinds of energy. I was running all kinds of colors because my body kept saying this color. I just kind of went with it. I was like, let's co-create this experience, body. And I just know that there's a bunch of crazy stuff we did. Some of it made up stuff on the fly, but the end game was I was able to get up after the surgery. I probably had 200 stitches. It's a big deal. And I got up on the first day, walked stairs, walked around, and it so much so that I set off alarms because I thought I was having a heart event, and it was actually just me doing squats. Day one in the ICU, and so they told me that I was the first person ever at age 54 to actually get up and move and feel good after surgery so quickly. And so I was released after one day instead of 4. And
Whoa.
yeah, and I even turned on the TV and did squats and things just to get the circulation going. And they said they just hadn't, they interviewed me actually. They're like, what did you do? Did you take a supplement? Did you, was it because you didn't take the sedatives? They're trying to figure out in a doctor way, like, why is it this middle-aged woman who's not a triathlete, but I was able to get up out of bed, unhook me from all these things, and have no dizziness. No, I just kind of felt super strong. And, it was my body. My body said, let's play, let's do this, let's find that strength, and a lot of grounding. And it was one of those little fun things I did. There's a lot of other little fun things, but that was kind of a fun thing that had sort of some validation attached to it. And then they still
Mhm.
talk about it like, oh, you're the one that got up and were able to walk around and run stairs after, a few hours after this big surgery.
Wow.
And I watched Law and Order because I kind of felt like it. They were having a marathon on TV, and I did squats. I was just like gentle ones. Anyway, so that was kind of a story that, where I was able to co-create with my body and experience that was bad. So there's a
Cool.
lot of different levels to this, but that's one of the things I was most proud of last year of all things, right? It wasn't money, it wasn't acquisitions, it was just working with my body in a way to create a better healing experience, and not seeing it as a victim scary thing, but really shifting the reality around it.
Mhm. Well, just think like almost anybody who would go in there, it would be all like, it's happening to me. It's so terrible. It's so hard. It's so painful. It's not right. Right. Like all this resistance and
Mm-hmm.
can't and won't. And like you didn't have to deal with any of that. Like there's just
No,
piles of
thought
crap
it
you
was
didn't have to deal with.
fun. It was the weirdest thing, but it's like magic, like when you really truly commit to reframing something, it feels magical. Like, and they still ask me, like, can you write down the techniques you used? Can you, because we've never seen anything like it. You were excited to be in surgery. You're more elevated with your, most people have really high blood pressure or, heart palpitations. And
Right.
yeah, and I keep trying to figure out, gosh, I wish there was something I could do where I could like, it was so random though. It was like part CDM, part made up stuff.
Right.
Anyway, but anyway,
Yeah, but
it
it's all
was,
using your active imagination and your
mm-hmm,
choice and your seniority and your right. And like, so someone could teach those people, and that may be
mm-hmm,
something we could look into. But
yeah,
but it's not just that using the techniques, it's the muscle that you built using the techniques.
yes, exactly, exactly.
Mm,
And sort of, I guess, trust or faith that when you set something forth, it will happen.
yeah. Mhm.
Not doubting was a big one because I had
Right.
certainty that I don't know where it came from. It felt very divine, like this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah. And this is a great story for havingness. You could have it, you could allow it to be a blessing, not a curse. And and amusement, you could play with it, you could have high vibration, you could let it be
Yeah,
a blessing, not a curse. So it's this is a great story, Liz. Thank you.
yeah, of
Um,
course.
Liz, Lorraine, do you have any feedback about this, or should we go on?
Um, well, I find it all very interesting. I've done when I say I've done, I mean as interpreter genetic counseling with a lot of people who've really struggled because the genetic counselors are not trained communicators.
They're
And
terrible.
yes, thank you. They use words that even someone who's been in the medical field 30 years wouldn't know because it's a evolving field and they're making up new words all the time to match their new discoveries. And so it's really, really hard for them to communicate. And I see a couple people that are scared, but the vast majority of my patients, their cultures never lost what the dominant Western culture lost, which is faith in life, faith in the fact that you're in a place of love and care, whether it's the creator or, a male god with the beard and a penis in the sky or whatever the image is. But there's so much, I don't want to say resigned, but they're resigned to their faith. They're accepting what it
Mm,
is. And they're like, well, God has put this upon me and I'm not alone and it is what it is. And so there's a lot more. I was with someone actually in genetic counseling and it was a beautiful young couple and they were finding out their child had severe disabilities and they were offering them an abortion. and they had gone home to think about it, and they came in the next day, and it was so hard for me not to cry while I'm interpreting. And I'm not suggesting everyone should do this, but he said, my wife and I talked it over, and we were thinking, who are we, imperfect humans, to ask for a perfect baby? That's just not right. And so we're an imperfect mom and dad, and we're going to accept our imperfect baby and love the baby as long as it lives. And we understand it might not live a long time, but that's okay. And I could tell the genetic counselor was like, yeah, whatever, check, 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 because they're not in that spiritual world. And so a lot of times there's that disconnect where someone has such a beautiful belief system. And in older traditions, there's a golden thread that runs between any two people. And so if there's a patient in the bed and a couple of people on chairs by the door, and the doctor walks between them, they're supposed to say, with your permission, meaning I know I'm breaking through that golden thread. And when doctors don't do that, you see people kind of like, why don't they know what's going on here? We're in this web, And so I've got the beauty and the pain of seeing all these things that are happening where people are misunderstanding each other, but also the great benefit of being able to be bathing in these waters of cultures that are 10,000 years old, where some of the indigenous people who barely speak enough Spanish, but their languages are of such limited diffusion, there aren't any interpreters. I had someone who had to do a urine test, and he was very angry and sad because his brother had called the police on him when he was trying to chastise him. And he's like, I'm the older brother. That's my job. He wouldn't be quiet when mom was sleeping. She has to get up at 4:30 in the morning to go to work. And so he asked the probation officer, will I be in trouble if you find sadness and sorrow in my bodily fluid? And she's like, are you saying you used? Because if you used, you better tell me ahead of time. Because if you deny it, it's going to be worse for you. You might get jail time. And I had to tell her, no, he's from a culture where they still believe in the bodily, in the fluids, like you're phlegmatic and you're sanguine and you're all those things. And so he's thinking that his sorrow would be chemically able to be detected in the urine. And frankly, I think that would be possible with the science of it, with our stress hormones and everything. And she goes, no, we're just looking for drugs and alcohol. And he's like, okay, I just want to make sure, because I have so much sorrow that it's going to come out in my urine.
Oh my gosh.
And those things, to me, those are like the gifts of my days.
Yes.
I get to hear and be a part of those kinds of things.
And cause understanding in ways that people can't even know that they're misunderstanding.
Yeah, or at least invite understanding. And then, for a lot of doctors, they're like, whatevsky, I got a checklist here. But sometimes, there is sometimes, especially when I did a lot of labor and delivery, there were times where the nurses would really get to know the person. I ran into someone at the Nordic Heritage Museum, and she's like, I remember you because whenever you were with my patients, it would be like a real conversation. Like we would talk them through their pain. And if they had childhood abuse, they would bring it up when they're in labor because it's pain in the same area. And they were able to be like, you're here now, you're safe, you're doing something so beautiful. It's not anything about that now. And now we're, washing it away, and you're going to greet your baby pretty soon. And
oh, beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous. Yeah. You're reminding me, Lorraine, it's just so helpful to have people who can perceive and communicate and are healers in places like you two are, in places like not going to the healer or the helper, right? Out in the world where people are up against the things that they're up against, interacting with people like y'all who are present and available and have tools to really help them, even though they might not know it, what's going on.
Yeah, my doctors from the first go around, they sent me people who were dismayed young women with the BRCA1 or BRCA2 genetic, and they had just found out from the geneticist. So Lorraine, know that story well. I had the worst, probably, or at least they were very classic geneticists. They were not caring at all. just here's the story, here's the facts, here's your choices. Now on to my next appointment, right? It sort of left me like, wow, like, what do I do with this? And very, very scientific, like 100% in that world. And what the chain was is that you'd find out, you get the letter, meet with that you were positive after the blood test, you'd meet with the geneticists, and then usually there's a team. I think there's a team of 3 in my case. And then you get a doctor team. And so you get these people kind of funneled through this process who are faced with sort of existential, but also, ending some feminine, identity, right? You're very identified, people love their breasts. They want to have a big family. There's a lot of the partners involved because, they start to feel like they're broken or somehow faulty. And a lot of times it's in the 30s or 40s that this gets discovered, sometimes even 20s. Of course, older is a little easier because you're like, menopause is around the corner anyway. But for a lot of people, it's really jarring. And I would get for a while from one of the doctors a woman or two, probably a couple a year, that were so upset that they couldn't function. And it was such a gift. I felt so honored that I would get a call from the nurse saying, "We're going to send you someone. Could you meet with them and talk them through your experience so they can start to move again because they'd be almost paralyzed?" And I could see why they were paralyzed because the system was so sort of black and white and sterile, and there wasn't any real conversation. Even the doctors were sort of thrown for a loop. Like, how do I talk about things like feminine breasts? And they just were very perfunctory about it. Again, like when you said, Lorraine, they're check boxes, kind of they just want to get their check boxes done and move on. And I had some very interesting interludes with people, right? Some were over the phone, some were video calls, some were in person. And I would try to bring in the techniques and just do a lot of listening. And they all went for it. They all had the surgeries, and then they seemed happy with the choices and went on the merry way. So I'm not in touch with them. But I always felt like there was a missing role in these exchanges and big health decisions. And maybe, Lorraine, you're in the position to help affect that. But it's like you probably are a language interpreter, but I almost feel like there needs to be almost a human interpreter, right? To really sort of infuse more humanity into these conversations. And
Yeah, they have spiritual care, but they're mostly geared toward praying with someone who's already dying. They're not there, and they're patient navigators at some hospital. They're mostly working with either low functioning or language barrier people to be like, this is how you get there on time. This is how you don't go to the ER 5 times with your baby who has a cold. This is how, you're going to miss radiation if you don't get there on time because other people, it's more like for the benefit of the hospital and hopefully to get the patients independent so they understand how the system works. But a lot of it is more for obedience and actually guiding them through. And it's certainly not guiding the staff in most cases on how to do something. And what I like is to try to do both sides when we're in that situation. So I had someone who the doctor said, "Okay, so I'll see you next Tuesday." And she said, "God willing." And he said, "Well, no, I mean, I'm going to see you next Tuesday." And she said, "By the will of God." And he said, "Well, are you coming next Tuesday?" And she said, "I am, if God is willing." And they went back and forth. And finally, he's like, "Why would God not want you to come to your appointment next Tuesday?" And she was like, "That's in God's hands. How would I know what God has planned?" So I said, interpreter, like to clarify, it's taboo in some cultures to predict the future because you're taking over the role of the creator, and your life is not your own, and you're being guided. And it's just saying that's going to happen. It could be really dangerous. And so she's just acknowledging that she doesn't know where she's going to be next Tuesday. And frankly, doctor, you don't really know where you're going to be next Tuesday either.
Good for
And
you.
I said, let me go ahead and interpret that to the patient. And I said to the patient, "Madam, the interpreter apologizes. This doctor was raised in a different culture. So it's not like she's the weirdo, right? He's the weirdo too, from her perspective." I said, "He was raised in a different culture. And he actually thinks he knows where he's going to be next Tuesday. And, you know, you kind of got to feel sorry for him, but he doesn't understand that his life is in God's hands. So I apologize for that. And it was so nice for her, instead of like, you're the outsider, you got to
Mhm.
promise you'll be here. Well, I can't. I don't know if I'll be alive next Tuesday.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that's such a
That's what
beautiful
breaks it.
story. I totally, yes.
Mhm.
I'm glad that people like you exist in that world, because it is a really, really interesting space. It's really fascinated me, this meeting of scientific brains and humans. It feels like there's a lot of hard angles, and
And
a lot of,
especially when they feel like they're failing, Liz, then they
yeah,
really, they don't look at the patient, and when they look at the interpreter during cancer appointments, I know they're giving bad news.
yeah,
Because it's like, Liz, great news. We got everything, da da da. Go ahead and tell Liz that
yes.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
it's like
I
with a
know.
jury trial. If the jury comes in and they don't look at the defendant, they're going to say guilty.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh yeah, I've heard that too. Not surprising at all.
You don't want to deal with the bad news part.
No, it's true. And when I've had long conversations with doctors through this thing, they tell me how scared they are of patients. They're afraid
Mhm.
of the scores that they get. They're
Mhm.
afraid of the reviews, the judgments, they're very much in a less is more sort of stance.
Well, it's become a consumer thing from the doctor perspective, and so
Yeah.
they're now getting graded, just like teachers get their
Yeah.
raises at the UW based on what students score them. So that means grade
Mhm.
inflation, and that means easier things. And
Right.
you give out cookies before they do the review, because if they have a little sugar high, they'll rank you higher, and it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
changed a lot. Yeah.
Mhm.
So interesting. Fascinating. Oh my gosh, we really got the cool
Mhm.
topics today,
Getting
Wendy.
into it. Yeah, I knew it would be good. Um, you know, um, so Liz, was there anything else that you wanted to highlight or bring out or tell a story about today?
Just one little story that I sort of prepared mentally that again sort of falls into the happiness or the getting where you want to go or getting something. But again, it sort of was a reminder, when you have an experience, it's a big experience, you start to realize, hey, I've had this before, but I never really acknowledged it for what it was. And so when I was able to sort of pivot out of the ICU pretty quick and got a lot of validation and still do for like, what the frick did you do? There was a situation when I was that kind of reminded me of it. That was an early situation, talking to my body in a way that was creative. I was had a really bad head cold, the kind where you think you're going to die,
Yeah.
but I had to go to work that day. I had
Oh.
to, that.
Mhm.
And I took the Sudafed and I did all the drugs and I went to work, and I remember it was pouring rain, typical Seattle, and I was coming from downtown and I was taking a bus back home. And the bus, I know you guys can relate to this. It was literally dripping with condensation. There were so many humans on the bus, hot, cranky people packed in this metal bus, and it was going up Queen Anne Avenue, right? So really steep. I was on the bus. I was dying. I was so sick. Just that I was trying not to cough. I was trying not to be and I was not feeling well. And I was only hanging. I couldn't get a seat. I could only hang on to one of those high bars, right? And one of the things about me is I have very low blood pressure. It comes from my mom. Everybody's surprised by it, just the way it is, genetic. So, but the problem with that is if you give blood or I faint easily. Um, so I started to feel like I wasn't going to make it, like I was going to faint. And I remember I was newer at the techniques. This was really early days, but I remember I thought, okay, I'm going to faint and it's going to be a whole thing. They're going to call medics. It's going to be a thing. And I don't want that. I just want to get home. So I'm going to use my techniques. And I did this in split seconds, right? But this
Yeah.
was a creation. I said, I'm going to talk to my body in a directive yet fun, like a partnership way. And so I talked to my body and I said, look like you're going to faint. But I'm going to ask and command you actually to do something. You're going to hold on with your hand like it's metal, like you are a metal ring, and you are going to hold on and you're going to maintain your muscular strength. And you're going to, if you're going to faint, because I feel like you're going to, you're not going to let go. And so, guess what? I woke up with my hand. I literally fainted, but I woke up with my hand and my
That's
arm holding
good.
me up. And I came to, I don't know how long I was out, but I literally had passed out, but my hand had remained fused to that bar and I didn't fall. And I don't know how the heck I did it, but I full on passed out because, I know that feeling of like the tingling
Yes.
and you're starting to. And I got back and I was like, and looked around like, did anybody see that? And nobody saw. Everybody was so concerned with their own, bus hell but it's like, how did my body do that? And that was one of the first times that I had just used my techniques in a way where it felt like magical outcomes. It wasn't just like, oh, I feel better. It was a
Right.
physical, like, wow, like
Yes.
I just did something superhuman kind of a feeling.
Yes. Yes. Because you could imagine it, you could ask. It's so fascinating,
Mhm.
right? It's like
Yes,
we think
yes,
it's not possible, but it's like you were like, this is possible.
this is possible. Yes. And I really did like hear back, okay, like my body was like,
I,
and then I just remembered that when I had this surgery, like my body is right there as a partner, right? And it's pretty willing, it's pretty willing. And, I think the body was always sort of like, treat it like a child that you love, right? And I'm still working with this. So I'm still fascinated by this. You'd expect 20, 30 years, but I'm still playing on, to use your word, playing with my, what's possible. But it was a really beautiful day. After that, I was like aglow with, I didn't know that is a cool trick.
that is
I could have had medics called. I could have fallen on someone.
right.
I've had that happen in my past, so I didn't want to replicate it. And
Mhm.
boy, my body was like, sure, no ethics, no drama. Okay.
Just no limit. It's very much
No
no
limits.
limits.
Yes.
Yes. That's amazing. Yeah, and then we can collaborate with our bodies to have a
Yes.
more enjoyable outcome. All right, I get that you need to do this thing, but can we do it in this way that's going to work for
Yeah.
me?
Yes. I acknowledged you need to faint because it was definitely going to happen, but I realized I couldn't stop the fainting. That was just the way it was going to be, but I could hold on.
That's
So,
amazing. I love that story, Liz. That's
oh,
so
thank
cool.
you. Yeah.
Cool. So we only have a handful of minutes left, and I want to, if you guys are game, I want to hear, like, say, one way to frame it is you like say you were teaching a class or doing a little talk with your friends. What would you say in just a minute or so about, we're going to do each of them, but about, we'll start with amusement. What would you say about amusement? The vibration, the blessing, the frequency, the
Mm.
spiritual experience into your soul. What is it like? How would you talk about it? What does it perceive like in your space? Just a minute or so. What would you say about amusement?
I can go.
Go ahead.
Amusement to me is the sort of effervescence of anything happening. Like if I want something, it just is, it takes away by, how do I put it? It's almost like turning on a light in a situation where they're all, and to me, it shows up as almost like an effervescent bubbles. That's just my thing. And
Mm-hmm.
when that shows up, it's almost like that sand analogy you used at our beginning meditation, Wendy, where everything else just is like a lower energy and it just sort of decides to go dissolve.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
dissolves some hard edges, is how the way I put it. It
Mm-hmm.
softens, the points disappear, the jags, the things that hurt. It reframes things really well. I used a ton of amusement through some crises, like the medical one. And I mean, we always have a crisis, let's face it. I mean, there's
Right.
always one, like we are talking about Wendy.
I know.
Think
The
you're
waves keep
free.
coming.
They keep coming. And amusement, it also allows me to just sort of see it for what it is. It's a neutralizing energy. So if I see something that feels really big and scary with amusement, it I get clarity. I get right sizing, like,
Nice.
oh, this was actually a molehill and I thought it was a mountain. There I go again.
Yes,
Ha
yes.
ha.
Right sizing. I love it.
And you're right. People don't get it because they feel like amusement, I think, sometimes has a belittling or you're laughing at something. But,
Right,
you know,
right.
I
Not
would
taking it.
call not take I would tell people if I were teaching a class, like you said, that amusement is one of the more powerful energies for reframing and softening in a
Mhm.
productive way.
Yes,
And to not view it as a actual joke or
right.
but to posit that amusement is a very powerful energy that for transformation.
Absolutely. And I really love how you're speaking to it as the vibrational experience.
Yeah.
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 So that's wonderful. Thank you so much,
Mhm.
Liz. Lorraine, do you have anything like what you would say? And it doesn't have to be flavored by what Liz said, of course.
Well, I was just really quickly looking up the etymology of it because I'm a linguist, but it's based on the word to delude or deceive, and then muse means to stare stupidly. So it's very interesting. No wonder it has sort of a negative feeling for people. Um, so it's more like tricking yourself, but the way we use it, I would almost call it, if people had a problem with the concept of amusement, like a ride at the fair kind of amusement, or hooking into,
Mm,
watching a screen, like it's not a distraction kind of amusement. I think of it as playful.
hmm.
So a playful spirit, and I think also taking things with a grain of salt,
Yeah.
or most painful situations later on. My son was in a hotel in Amsterdam and he woke up and his suitcase was floating. His fiance, of course, had packed everything and hers was up on the stand and his stuff was everywhere. And people were going down outside with water pouring out the back, like in a pickup truck when there's been snow or something. Pipe had burst, and when he told me about it, I said, "This will be funny." And the worse it was, the longer it will take before it becomes funny. But we kind
Yeah.
of do that with our family stories. Like, remember the time when, this kind of scary thing happened, and then ha ha ha, because
Hmm.
it's like it becomes a survival story. But for me, I think I run amusement with permission. It's almost like if you had chores and you do the best you can, and then your mom's like, okay, you can go out and play now. And that sense of release,
Oh, nice.
that sense of you can go out
Hmm.
and play now, that sense of release is to me um amusement energy, like not goal oriented. Like if I stay amused, then I, you know, get this job. If I stay amused, then, not the reward cycle, not the lollipop, but the
Hmm.
dentist, which is another whole
Right.
story. Suspicious, it's like you go to your pediatrician, here's a pack of cigarettes, honey. But yeah, to me it's like the I need the permission from the mom figure to go out. It's okay, go out and play now.
Oh,
So
I
I like
love that.
that combination, like it's okay for you to be playful. And I,
Yes.
I love the fact that Liz is talking about using it in 20, 30 infinite ways, bring it in. So here you are going into surgery and you can decide, I think it would be amusing to not have the sedative first. I want to
Mhm.
be fully awake, and I'm going to get general anesthesia. It's not like I won't sleep through it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Get to say hi. That's awesome. And also, it's like so owning. It's just so owning. I'm going to be awake and aware when I meet you all, and then you can do your thing. Just love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
All right. And
I
so what about havingness? What would you say about havingness?
Oh boy. So I had a situation where I had this car that I was very proud of because I kept it alive for so long. Um, You may have even seen me drive it, Wendy. It was a Honda Accord 2003, and it was a stick shift. And I was really proud of it because I kept it in pristine condition. And I didn't even care that my clients, I'm in real estate, Lorena, and and sometimes they're very wealthy. And here I am driving this old Honda. And I thought, some of the multimillionaires that I've met drive old Hondas. I'm not going to let that bother me, right? So I'm
Mhm.
kind of stuck. Well, my 17-year-old son and I shared the car, and he got in a wreck in this spring. He hit a mother and a baby. Nobody was
My
hurt,
goodness.
but my car was totaled. It was worth about $2,000, even in perfect condition because it was old. And I was devastated. It was like, but I was like, okay, I've made this my thing, but I'm gonna mock up a new car. And I was sort of starting to think I needed a new car. And I say car because it always feels like so base, like you have to have your car. And so I'm using the car as a
Yeah.
thing because I had a lot of baggage about a new car. And
Hmm.
I had used this car as a shield. Like, no, look at I'm have this Honda. It's really old because I was I don't know, I just was sort of resisting new car and what it
Hmm.
said and getting into that rat race. And so I held on to it for years and it was unreliable, but I finally my son made it happen and that I needed to get a new car. And so I hemmed and hawed and was looking at old ones. And finally I just said, I meditated on it. And I said, I really just need a nice new car. And then I was worried about affording it. And then John, my husband, who you've met, Wendy, just said, oh, fuck it, we're just going to get an electric car for you. And he just did it. And I got the best car. But I had to blow pictures forever because I was concerned with it was too fancy.
Wow.
And I know and so the happiness part is interesting for me. And I'm telling you this story because something so simple as a new car for me was just like I wasn't allowing myself to have it. I had a lot of pictures about what people would think. I was making it impossible. I'm still struggling with it because it's still a new car. So it just really popped for me because I don't want to show anything fancy. And it's very I don't know. It's just, so I'm sort of so I'm when you say happiness, it kind of I'm at a spot where no brands, no fancy cars, and this car is presenting a challenge for me right now. I love it, but I don't like what it says about me, like the image.
Yes.
And so anyway, I don't know that that's some pithy wise thing, but that's what I'm doing right now with happiness is I'm realizing I've got some learning to do and some I could manifest it, but now I need to allow
Yeah.
myself permission to enjoy it. Not
Right.
quite
Which
there
is the
yet.
important part.
Yes, yes, but it's like I don't know what's going on in there. We think we're so finished. We've done all these years and years and years of
Hmm.
things, and I
Yeah.
feel guilty. I realize it's guilt. Like there's something
Wow.
guilty about me owning this car.
Awesome.
That's my minute. I probably went over, but
Yeah.
you
Thanks.
tapped the vein, Wendy. I'm
That's
still
awesome.
wrestling with it.
I'm so glad. There's definitely gifts in there for you, right? You tripped, so what's the treasure? Like, what the heck?
Right,
Because you can
right.
have nice clothes, a nice house, and a good job, a beautiful family.
Yeah.
You have pretty much that's how I see you. You have everything lovely. So this is definitely an outlier, and it'd be interesting to see what you get
Yes,
out of it.
I see it and I feel guilt. It's the funniest thing. So to be
Yeah,
continued.
cool. Thanks for being so honest, Liz.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. That's where the real gifts are in the being
Yeah,
transparent.
I gotta face this car.
Rah,
So
rah. Can't have it. Rah.
I can't have it. Yeah. Anyway, that's
Awesome.
today.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the one of the things like I've always seen with having this from the time I learned it. It's like having what we already own is the most important thing.
Yes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what's my problem today. I
Yeah.
still, it's not mine yet.
Right.
I feel like it's somebody else's and I don't deserve it. So
Oh my
anyway,
gosh. Yeah. So you get, yeah. So you
thank you
can
for
enjoy
that. Thanks for bringing
gorgeous.
that up because it was a little spike in my life
Niggly.
and it's
Yeah.
literally outside the window that I'm talking right now.
Awesome.
So
Thank
anyway,
you.
thank you, Wendy.
Okay. Lorraine, what do you say?
Uh, yeah, I think of happiness as ownership, or yeah, like taking ownership over the good things in your life and having gratitude and acknowledgement. So just to, just to own your home, if you own your home, to have
Right.
children, if you have children,
Right.
and not presume, well, everyone gets a house and 2 kids. That's what we're born with. And it's like, no, those are freaking miraculous things, especially in Seattle.
Yeah.
To wake up, and my mama in Finland used to say, as long as you can get up and put 2 feet on the floor, that's a good day. And
Yes.
this whole gratitude about, like, I woke up today. Not everyone wakes up every morning.
Yes.
Some people don't. And I can't
Yes.
get to the bathroom on my own, and I'm not on a bag. And, there's a million things. And
Yes.
I don't mean I'm going to get into the thought process of constantly checking and analyzing what I did and getting points for each thing and then doing some analytical thing. I just mean the general energy of, I have what I have and it's totally okay. And Liz, I don't have a car, so if you feel real bad about it, I could take that and see how I play with the havingness. I went car free 10 years ago.
Did
I
you? Oh,
think
that's
I could
awesome.
handle
That's
an electric
awesome. You make
car.
more pictures to blow. Thank you, Lorraine.
Yeah. Then you could check your energy when you don't have the car and you see it going past your house, like ding ding.
Yes.
Good
Totally.
luck
Thank
showing
you
real
for that.
estate on a bicycle, Liz.
Yeah, Lorraine could just use it until you can really have it, and then you can
You're
have
like,
to go
Sounds
I
like
back.
a
actually do want
plan.
it
That's
back.
I know the thing about real estate is you have to have one. So
Yeah,
but yeah, I love that. Thank you. I love a spike in my life. You know what I mean?
yeah, awesome. All right, you guys. I'm just so grateful for this sweet time. Really, just lovely. I hope you guys enjoy meeting up. I hope it turns out great.
Yeah.
And I'm all about the people who are doing this work, getting together. I think it makes such a difference. Certainly, it keeps the competition down
Hmm.
and the growth and the delicious connections so up. So, thanks for being willing to do that.
And
Um,
Liz, maybe you could send me, I put my phone number in the chat. Do you see it?
Yeah. I wrote
Maybe,
it down. I have
maybe
a
you
little
could send me
notebook.
if you send me a text, then I'll have your phone number.
You got it.
okay, so how about we do meditate out for a minute, and then if you have any final words, we will say them and then be done. Hello, Earth, we are connected. And hello, sky, we are connected. And hello, the weight in the chair, noticing our body. Hello, center of head. And let's breathe again from the universe, filling chest and belly at your own rate and releasing the intention of that breath to the center of the earth, along with all the dust that was kicked up in this conversation, along with all the things you noticed in this conversation. I'm ready to let that go to the goodwill and let them go to the goodwill down at the center of the earth. And let's say hi to the beautiful sky and the beautiful sun above us, letting them radiate down the blessings, this sacred blessings in and through you, filling you up and overflowing out all through and around and down your natural connection to the earth, your grounding. Okay. Also, let's just let go like sand in our hands of of uh, Lorraine's energy and her information. Just call your own energy back from her and let go like sand in your hands. Liz's information and her energy, and just keep what's yours. And then let go like sand in your hands. My energy, my information, my things I said, just let go and keep your own wisdom, keep your own information, keep your own energy, and breathe. Okay. So, final words. How about Lorraine? You got any final words?
I would love a sentence from you, Wendy, on havingness and I want to say playfulness, but amusement. I would love
Amusement.
to hear your
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a one sentence game, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
If you're up,
Um, yes. I will say, first I'm going to say I didn't know how it was going to work because I have like an hour of things to say
of
that I feel
course.
like are really important. So I'm going to do like a take two on this and just go blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I think this, this 3-month series that we're in it's all part of the bigger game we're doing on, our dance with all our relations. It's all about the focus is on blame busting. It's about letting go of it being everybody else's problem and fault, taking responsibility for ourselves, and calling our chickens home. And the vibrations that we're using are all what I see as the pinks. So, permission and freedom, I tend to read as a really light pink. And then amusement and having this I tend to see as like a medium pink, kind of sometimes a bubblegum pink. And affinity, experience of oneness, the what we experience in the heart chakra, the reality of oneness, I tend to see as a deep rose pink. Tend to, there's no is, right? But like I use these paradigms. And so what I'm going to say is that havingness and amusement are like concentrated permission and freedom in how I read it. They're
Mhm.
right. And you guys talked about that some, and I found that very interesting. They're like permission and freedom taken to the next level.
Mhm.
And 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 you can't take all this too far because it's all metaphorical and it's just how I see it. So don't take it, but whatever. Then the oneness, if you take oneness and dilute it, how does that occur in our world? Oneness, this havingness thing is like owning, but we already own, we're already one with all the things. It's like we're just a matter of unveiling that we're already one with the yeah, sure, the car, and yeah, the healing, and yeah, the being in charge of ourselves. Like whatever it is, like this havingness goes very deep
Mhm.
about, how can I be senior until I can have that I have permission to do that. So so I see it like I see these havingness and amusements as I see them as similar, which is why we're doing them similar, but they have different flavors, different textures, but they are very similar. And that all those pinks, as far as I'm concerned, as a healer, and I never learned this, but gosh, for 20 years now or longer, I've been watching what pinks do in the world, in my world, my inner world, and the world for others. And it's just like so powerful. Um, with when contending with the stuck, the heavy, the dark, the opaque, the hate, the despair, the anti-God, the serious, like they're so powerful and they just melt them. So having this amusement melts. And there was some talk in that direction too. It just freaking melt away the BS. Like that, and the stuff that says there is no hope, there is no God, there is no beauty, forget it. So that is way more than a sentence, but thanks for listening.
I
I love
really
it.
appreciate it. Oh, go ahead.
I just was going to say we must be mind melding, Wendy, because I am all about the pinks as well. Is one of my. It's so interesting you said pink because very rarely do we talk about the colors of things. Oh my God, at least me, and it's all pink. So I was nodding and smiling because I use pink and see pink similarly.
Yeah, even though in the real world, like I've gotten more neutral, but I used to be like, no, that's a girl color.
I know.
Right?
I would never pick it as a favorite color, but it to me that is a really powerful color for that melting
Yes,
of
yes,
jaggedy concepts is kind of my
yes,
yeah.
exactly. Yes. Awesome.
I
Lorraine?
had the resistance to pink as far as like a ballerina suit, but when
Yes.
I think about it's light. It's not like the color of your blanket or your skirt. It's light. Then it becomes like a sunset pink, a sky pink, sort of a red glow that
Mm,
forgiving color for people with white skin. The pink light bulb. And my son and his
yum.
fiance had like a pink light that went all the way around their bed, and it was just so hilarious that it was like they would be glowing. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I think of it as a pink glow, and then it's
Yeah.
not associated. I mean, with the Barbie movie, been a renaissance of fuck you, pink. We can wear pink if we want to. No, Ken, you can't spend the night. We don't have genitalia, Ken. It's a girl night again. You know, so yeah, I love the pink, but when Wendy first ran pink with me, I was like, I have to, she was like, how does it feel to run pink? How does it feel in the body? And I'm like, I added 1 drop of blue dye, so it's kind of periwinkle. And she's like, okay, too.
It's okay.
Not ready for straight pink. It's periwinkle.
Periwinkle's beautiful too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But Wendy,
All
I look
right.
forward to this course. And the one thing I was thinking with the shame and blame is the childhood phrase, but you, because whenever you're trying to think,
Yeah.
what's my part in it? But you did it, but you shouldn't have.
Yes.
But what about,
Yes. Yes.
So there's that, but you sort of resistance to just saying, okay, I did this and this is how you reacted and it's okay. We're human. And, just to get to a point where it's okay, whatever it was. And I'm not talking about criminal court right now, but just interpersonal, it's very rarely an actual crime. It's mostly just people trying to
Yeah.
protect themselves and be okay.
Yes. Yes. And when we can just be easy and fun with it, then all that fighting and mess can really resolve pretty easily. At least it has a
True.
chance. It has a fighting chance to release. Awesome.
Mhm.
Friends, so thank you so much. So generous, so beautiful.
Thank you,
Um,
Wendy.
and
Yeah,
Liz, I
thank
hope
you,
to see you
Wendy.
again soon.
Yeah,
And let's not make it every 10 years.
yeah.
And,
Mhm.
and Lorraine, hopefully I'll see you uh, Monday. Awesome.
Okay,
So
and Liz, if you ever want to trade healings, I literally
Yeah,
am in your neighborhood and we wouldn't have to do it by video. We could sit in one of our living rooms.
yes. Yeah, the
yay. Yeah, that's
porch.
right. Lorraine,
Yeah.
perfect.
You both have
I
beautiful
will text
yards.
you. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
Yeah.
great.
great you're in Ballard.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.